Okay, so in this episode I thought we'd take a look at the wonderful world of The Masked Singer UK, and in particular a contestant on the current 6th series called Bush. She's performed in 4 episodes at time of recording, so there are plenty of clues to dive deep into. But before we do that, hello everyone and welcome to the Brit of Reality Check podcast, the show that takes a look at the best of British reality TV. Remember, you can take part in the conversation too, and feel free to get in touch about any of the shows discussed. But without further ado, move over Kate, let's talk about the nation's favourite singing Bush. So we were first introduced to Bush in the 2nd episode of the newest series back in early January, and straight from the off you could tell they were a fun character who was just going to enjoy their time on the show. Usually when we're introduced to a new mask, we get some clues first before hearing the voice for the first time. I'm going to take a different approach to that and talk about the voice straight off, because as soon as the first performance played, and Bush gave us a rendition of Wake Up Boo by the Boo Radleys, the voice was immediately recognisable. It sounded exactly like someone from a certain soap, that person being the nation's favourite trumpet player, EastEnders' Sonia Fowler, played by actress Natalie Cassidy. So from the off we were left thinking, is that Natalie Cassidy or is it someone that sounds like Natalie Cassidy? And that's very much a theme throughout these clues you're going to find. Because I will be discussing whether it is Natalie Cassidy or on the flip side, is it someone doing an impression of Natalie? For example, the impressionist Morgana Robinson, who can do a spot on Natalie Cassidy. The first thing that makes me lean more towards Natalie herself is the height of Bush. When she stands next to Joel after her performances, you can tell by the eye slot and the front of Bush that she's definitely shorter than Joel. Joel is 5'11", Natalie is 5'3.5". I think the heights match there. Morgana is a lot taller than Natalie is, so I think that rules her out. I've seen quite a few people online who are torn between Natalie and Morgana, side with the Morgana theory because they say that none of the clues match with Natalie. Let me see if I can change that opinion by having a look at those all-important clues. So in episode 2, she began by saying, people might think being a Bush is a bit boring, but I don't let them drag me down. This could of course lead to Natalie's appearance as a guest on Drag Race UK in the episode EastEnders. We also saw an award for Best Bush in Show, and Natalie won Best Actress at the Soap Awards, as well as being voted Best Housemate on Celebrity Big Brother. Bush then said making her friends feel special and stage managing where they all go. Time flies when you're having fun. Time to branch out and show how versatile I can be. Well, Natalie is a very versatile actress. She's done theatre, she's done radio, she's done podcasts, she's done soaps, and she's done comedies. She can pretty much do it all. Next we saw a judge's wig and gavel. I think this leads to either her appearance on Crime Stories or to do with the EastEnders trials that she's appeared in, including the current one with Reese. We then saw theatre glasses, and Bush said it's time to be theatrical. This is a theme running through most of Bush's clues that she's done theatre. She even said, show him I'm no coward, which is a link to Noel Coward's Blythe Spirit that Natalie acted in. And to go with this, we also saw a ghost, which links to Blythe Spirit. After her performance, she then said, I've been training for years and there's no holding back. Have you peeped through my leaves? Are you on the right track? And I think this is because she ran the marathon in honour of Dame Barbara Windsor. Or training for years could link to how long she's been in EastEnders. So already just from that first episode of Bush, it leads towards Natalie. Obviously, Best Bush in Show could be because Morgana won Taskmaster, but I'm not sure what the judge's wig or the Noel Coward link has to do with Morgana, so it leads to more Natalie. 1 week later, the very next episode, Bush returned with the rest of Group B after having just been at bottom 2 in the last episode. And this episode has what I like to call more concrete clues. She said, I was just chatting to the shrubs out back. They think it's wild. They're hoping for another koala tea performance. Well, if you take Outback, Koala and Wild, I think that leads to Natalie Cassidy Goes Wild in Australia. Of course, this clue had people thinking Morgana even more because she's from Australia, but I think the wild clue leads to the TV show I just mentioned. There was also a joker in a deck of cards. Natalie has been in a few sitcoms and comedies, but also her Instagram bio reads mum, fiancé, auntie, actress, podcaster, joker. The key word being joker there. We saw the word joker on the card. Bush also said she can check that off her list, and Natalie was in Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard. Orchard, Bush, and there's another link. There was a kebab, which I think is because she played Donna Ball in Mandy. She said, if you think I can't stomach the competition, you're going to get egg on your face. And Natalie was in the recent special for Bake Off. There was a sign that said Employee of the Month, Derek. Someone has said online that this is because Derek was the name of her teacher, but I think it's because in EastEnders, Derek was Sonia's uncle. She said that Bush was revitalised and had mastered the basics. I think that's because she had many breaks from EastEnders. There was a number 9 on the door, which could either link to Psychoville that she was in, which is written by the same people as Inside Number 9, or it could be because she was on Series 9 of Celebrity Big Brother. Obviously, this also leads to Morgana, because she was in Inside Number 9 herself. Then, after a performance of Hold My Hand by Jess Glynn, Bush gave us 2 clues, one of which was true, one of which wasn't. So, she said, the landscape is beautiful, but the coach was hell. You know how I get on long journeys. And she also said, I know you thought this holiday was too short, but man, I do love to travel. Personally, I think the first one is the clue we're looking at, because in the sitcom Motherland, Natalie played a coach-sick teaching assistant, which leads us to You Know How I Get on Long Journeys. And that was the end of a possibly controversial episode of The Masked Singer, which we won't dive into in this episode. But then Clue Week came about, and she told us, it beggars belief that I'm still here. Natalie was in a play, The Beggar's Opera. There was some rooting powder. This could either be for the Australia link as before, for Kangaroo, or because she was on RuPaul's Drag Race, which is backed up by the next statement where she says she looked like she was dragged through a hedge backwards. Dragged through a hedge, Drag Race. She then said springing leaves all over the place, and she was in the comedy podcast Spring Leaf. I think that's pretty conclusive on its own. We then saw a school textbook that said Bush for Ryan, but the letter L was crossed out. I'm wondering whether this is no L for Noel Coward. I think there's a clue I'm missing there, but I'm not sure what it is. There was also a university letter from the Dean. That could be Dean Gaffney, who plays her brother in EastEnders. And then we were treated to her clue song, which was Our House by Madness. Maya commented during the episode that Our House could be a clue to EastEnders, which has many houses in the middle of the street. And that was pretty much it for episode 5, but in episode 6, she said she feels a right silly Billy for doubting herself. This could either be Billy Mitchell, or it could be for Sonia's half-brother, Billy. Been doing this since I was a little shrub, and I think this is the clue that separates Morgana from Natalie. Morgana was a bit older when she started, but Natalie started in EastEnders when she was 10 years old. On the wall it said, Bush's Wonderful Wall. This could either be Wall for Walford, or Wonderwall because Natalie made a Liam Gallagher inspired parka on Sewing Bee. And I will mention at this point, even though most of these clues lead to Natalie, it could just be Morgana throwing us off with all of the Natalie clues. Because then she went on to say, I don't know what impression you got of this Bush. Was that Natalie hinting at Morgana, or was that Morgana hinting at Natalie? It could be either. We then saw some Viennese whirls, some rock and roll, and salsa, which was all dances that Natalie did on Strictly. Those categories specifically mentioned on the Wikipedia. She said, Bush is never seen but not heard, but has been heard but not seen. This is obviously leading to the many podcast appearances, including 2 of her own, Life with Nat and Off the Telly. We then saw a picture of Windsor, which people linked to The Windsors, which Morgana was in, or it could just be for Barbara Windsor again. Another clue I'm not 100% on was when she said, is it just me or is it roasting in here? When looking up Natalie and roasting, All you can find is when she roasted Jimmy Carr on 8 out of 10 Cats. Could it be leading to that? After giving us a performance of A Night to Remember by Shalamar, we were treated to the clue of 3 connected words that would lead us to one word that would lead us to an identity, and the words were blank, Turner and front, and the panel worked out that that could be for Page. Jonathan commented that it could be for a script, or, and more meaningfully, it could be for Joanna Page, Natalie's co-host of Off the Telly. And that's pretty much it for the clues that we've been given, but I will also mention that Natalie loves gardening. She's shared her experiences on My Garden Escape Diaries, and this sort of reminds me of when Claire Richards was knitting on the show, and this being because she has a love for crafts herself, so maybe her hobby has inspired her costume. But against that theory, we know that last year Danny Jones was offered to be Bush instead of Piranha, which I'm glad he didn't choose Bush because I don't think that costume would have suited him. Piranha fits in perfectly. But it also would have been funny if he was Bush, won the Masked Singer, and then appeared in the jungle in another bush, and then won that as well. So that's all that Bush has given us so far. She will be competing in the semi-final on this Saturday. Some clues I'm going to be looking out for. Obviously trumpets. We haven't seen a trumpet yet. I don't know how. Red Riding Hood she dressed as in Celebrity Big Brother. Maybe a cheerleader, which she played in the Catherine Tate show. A sofa or a satsuma. Pudding Lane or the Great Fire of London. The Last Goodbye. If she says that, then we know it's her. A link to Off the Telly. Or if she says, and this would be my favourite clue, if she says something like having leave Sonia is hard. Sonia. I think that would be the best clue she could give. And possibly she's already given it and it's flown over all of our heads. But that's it for this little episode of Brit of a Reality Check. As I mentioned earlier, feel free to get in touch with your own theories, if I've missed something, if you agree or disagree, and also if you enjoy this type of content. I often read comments online saying that they wish the show told us what all the clues meant after the unmasking. So that's pretty much what I would like to do, go into all the clues. But other than that, thank you for listening and see you next time on Brit of a Reality Check.